All right. Hi, guys. Welcome back. Okay. So we were really good and we got a couple topics, and now we're just going through them all. And I'm just surprising Delancey with what we're talking about. So today obviously won't be as crazy as last time, but last time was good. It was fun. Yeah, it was good. Anyway, okay.
Okay.
So I actually really enjoyed it. I got off and told my husband that. Anyway, okay. So we are going to talk about today would or I guess will, I don't even know how to word it. Anyway, would or will it, I'll say
Huh?
it this way. Will adoptees run away? Like when they get older. That's what we're going off of. Will adoptees run away? Because I know I've seen this floating around too, that it's a real fear of adoptive parents. I don't know if it's more common with like our generation because we were more closed versus now where they're kind of going more towards open. But I'll be honest, I think it's just crazy and silly. I really do. I think it's like the silliest thing I've ever heard because your kid that you could have that comes like from you per se, like your body could run away too. Like it's not just because I'm adopted that I would run away, if that makes sense. Like go back to that original family. That sounds weird. Go back to your birth
Okay,
family.
so that's okay. So that's because I was just sitting here
Yeah.
thinking, I was like, there's so many different
Yeah.
avenues that could go. And I know some people are probably listening to this and going, Delancey, why don't you just take it at face value? And it's like, I mean, I
No,
could,
I like that. Yeah.
but
No, I like it.
it's like, it's one of those things of, I mean, if you're run away, like they, that's what they mean, run back to their biological family. Like they find their biological family and they run
Yeah.
away to them and think that's how they're going to live for the rest of their
Yeah.
lives.
There's a fear of that.
I mean, uh, no one's gonna like this. But I
No, I
am
love it.
so
Go.
I mean, there have been people from biological families who have run away and absorbed into somebody else's family where
Mhm.
they have met that. So I mean, I kind of feel like if you are loving your kid, you're doing the best that you can, and you're trying to, I don't know, raise them in a way to make them a contributing member of society. If they run away, then that's on them. That doesn't like, I don't know. I mean, if you, I just feel like that fear would be subsided if like people just were honest and communicated about adoption. If you don't know the details, don't make them up. That's tacky. Don't be like,
Amen.
oh, they chose us because of X, Y, and Z, and they when you have no idea.
Right.
I don't care what somebody told you. I don't care what, unless it came from the biological parents themselves. You don't know.
Right.
And then on top of that, at the same time, it's like you have to trust that things are going to work out how they're supposed to. So if you, because you say you've seen a lot of it floating around, I've had a lot of people comment that on my video of when I met my biological mom. This is why people fear adoption. Baby, my family encouraged it. My family championed for it. My family was more about it than I was for years. So, no, it has nothing to do with people being afraid of adoption because they're going to meet their biological family. That's a choice that has nothing to do with the parents that did the adopting. And when you make it about you, that's when, I mean, that's me personally. As an
Yes.
adoptee, that's where I have a problem with it. As an adoptee, I have a problem with people saying you meeting your biological mother is why people fear adoption. Yeah, well, your face is why people wear makeup. I don't know what you want me to tell you here.
Did
Like,
they
I mean,
expand on it at all? Did they expand on why that's why
I
people?
don't really remember, to be quite frank with you. There were so many times that I had seen
No,
it
yeah.
on my TikTok. There was one particular time though that it just sticks out in my brain because I responded to the video
Yeah.
and I did a video response to it and I had even commented and I said, first of all, no.
Yeah.
Do not project your fears upon my family. Your fears have nothing to do with my family. I could understand and they even said, I don't, they even came back in another comment and said, I don't know anything really about adoption. And I was like, well, then zip, zip it. Because at the end of the day, you can't just take somebody that, like you said, you see it floating around. People fear adoption because they think when the adoptee meet their biological family, they're going to run away. That's one person or
Right.
five people.
Right.
There, out of 10 people, five of them may say that, and the other five may say it's more people in a family.
Yeah.
It's adventure, it's a learning experience, it's development, it's growth, it's God, it's all of these other things. If you're just going to listen to the five negative, you need to do some soul searching as to why you listen to negative.
No, it's so true though. Yeah. So the thing that I get, it's the kicker with all these things is they like to blame adoption on it. And I mean, and you guys know we've had so many adoptees come on here and not blame adoption. Like it has physically come out of their mouth. I do like when they've had struggles or trials with like their parents or with other things, they never blame it. Like, because we ask them that. Like that's one thing I want to ask because there's so many people that are like, well, I blame adoption for everything. But when you actually ask these people, and it sounds like on Delancey's thing, it's people that have no freaking connection to the adoption community. Like that's the biggest thing is it's like, really? Like you can't take a stance when you have zero clue or zero anything on it. It just I just don't like how they like have to blame one thing. And it's exactly what you're
Mm-hmm,
saying. It's like you need to go work on yourself before and
mm-hmm,
projecting. I like how you said that projecting your fear. Quit like stop projecting your fear on
mm-hmm,
me because of what you think. But I just like I'm with you. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't like you said before, anybody can run away. It's not just because we're adopted that we can run away, but it goes back to it. Like as a parent, you want to do the best you can and show your kids all that love and create a safe space and all those things, but things happen and like kids just happen. And granted, yes, it's in harder families. Kids are more probably, I don't know, maybe to run away, but maybe not to
mm-hmm.
run away and just stay and just, it's just hard. It's just I just think it's so crazy that people like it's like another "Oh, we're gonna do this because you're adopted. Like we're gonna add this on there because you're adopted, and then it just gets put on to where like the fear. That's the
It's so
thing I don't
stupid.
understand. Yeah, like I get, like I said, I get maybe the fear of the unknown with us as older and close, but even that same time, it's like, what are you doing to build a relationship with your kid to make sure
Mm-hmm,
that they know that they are yours, that they're your
mm-hmm.
family, that it doesn't matter where they came from. You know what I mean? Like that, that bothers me too. I just don't
It's,
understand that.
what's really funny is like what people don't understand is that they want to focus so hard on the what if they run away? What if we stay?
It- right. Ooh, that's a good one to clap
we
back with.
we have options,
Yeah,
just like our families had options.
exactly.
Like
Ooh,
we
that's
were like, if
good.
we think
That's
about
good.
it, it just honestly it popped in my head because we were oh god, someone's gonna get so mad about this and I don't care. We were joking in a group chat about, best dad ever, favorite dad ever, blah 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 blah. And I agreed, like, my dad's my favorite dad in the whole world. And they said, oh, that's like the sweetest thing ever. And somebody that didn't know was like, we all say that about our dads. And then somebody else popped in and goes, yeah, but she actually had choices. Like she has choices. She has choices to choose from. And I was like, I mean,
Yeah,
if you technically, yes,
yeah,
technically there are choices.
right.
I'd never met Bio Dad. Obviously, we've talked about that before. I'm not going to drill into that. But it's just when somebody said that, they were like, it was almost like this light bulb because they all know.
Yeah,
They all know I'm adopted, but it was
yeah,
almost a light bulb went off in their head like, oh, wow, wait a minute. She actually does. And it's like, yeah, it's like there are people out there who are like, yes, and championing for adoption, championing for stay, quote unquote, staying.
yeah,
But still, it's so like the whole thing's so wild to me. It's like, what if they run away? What if they stay?
yeah, yeah,
You know, what if this new relationship that you're getting into, if you go into the new relationship thinking to yourself, oh, this is going to end? What if it
right.
doesn't? What if it
Yeah,
works?
yeah.
Like just
Exactly. Oh, I love that. Look
like
at you coming in clutch with them deep thoughts. I seriously love that
well,
because it's
it's
so
coffee.
no, it's because it's no, but it's so true. I like how you said that, like with a relationship, because that's like with anything. Why would you go into a relationship? And it's any
Mhm.
relationship, not just like,
Mhm.
with your spouse or something. Going into it, okay, I met this person, we vibe, but oh, what's going to happen? What's going to go wrong? Why are you thinking that?
Yeah.
Because then, yes, of course, that relationship will probably implode because it's like,
Mhm.
if you're
It's
going to
just
say,
like
yeah,
it's just like Ryan pointed out because when I was listening to it and I was listening to it, I was like, oh my gosh, I was so guilty of that for so many years, but I still would hope for the best. And I would just kind of keep my dread to myself. Like
yeah,
the feeling of the other shoe is going to drop. Like
yeah,
Ryan and
yes,
Mackenzie both said it. And when I was
yeah,
listening to it, and before it was so funny, it was like I was in the moment all over again because then I was thinking, God, yeah, but the pastor said, and then I actually chimed in and said,
yeah,
my
what,
pastor, and I went,
yeah,
I'm really glad that teaching stuck with me because,
yeah,
here we are.
no,
But it, like any relationship, friendship, where, and it doesn't matter, people for whatever reason take the word relationship and they think that it means only your spouse, only your
yes,
significant other.
yes,
And something that is important that I've tried to exude to other people and lead by example with and just explain to people, it's you can call somebody a friend all day long and say like that's my friend, that's my friend, that's my friend, that's my friend. You could have 5,000 friends on Facebook, 10,000 followers on Instagram, or however many is something considered popular. I don't know, I don't pay attention because I don't care.
exactly.
But at the same time, if you're not connecting those interactions with people, whether it's now, and I don't know everything about everybody, but when I speak to people, I genuinely try to engage, like a
Right.
genuine engagement in the conversation with them. Because there's something about relationship building that has gotten lost.
Yes.
And relationship building is one of the key parts. And that's not just with your significant other and your spouse. That's with your parents, that's with your kids, that's with your siblings, it's with your grandparents. You
Yeah.
never know what you're going to learn from somebody by building a relationship with them. And the relationship's not about you. I think that's the reason why that question bothers me so much.
Yeah.
It's like it's looked at from such a I don't want to say selfish because that just sounds wrong to say selfish, but it's looking at it from just the how is this going to affect me?
I mean, but it is. You're not
Yeah.
lying when you say it's selfish. I mean, that might just sound like a more
It just sounds
harsh
harsh.
word.
It just
Yeah.
sounds harsh. Yeah.
But it's true. Unfortunately, it is true. And it's exactly what like goes back to what you said earlier. Stop projecting your fears on me. That's the you
Mm-hmm.
part. Like you have that fear.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's the you of like, yeah, I
It's
don't.
it's the you of everything, and then or like it's really when we say you, it's like we're saying like the I part of it. Like how am
Yes.
I going to be affected? How am I going to be da da da? I.
Yeah.
And whereas yes, you should protect your peace, you should protect yourself. I firmly agree with this.
Hmm.
However, relationship building is not with the intention of you sharing your personal story. It's about you learning about somebody else's
Yes.
story. And
Yeah.
then by you learning about them and their story and what they like. And I mean, it could be something as simple as like when I'm working the coffee bar, I don't know every single person that comes through the coffee bar personally, but
Hmm.
I do know that lavender may look maybe complimentary to this one person and she looks stunning in it. Or I know that this one couple comes through and he always gets a Coke. She sometimes gets a Coke or she sometimes gets a coffee. And I always know to ask about their baby and how a drop off went at KXP because they just started dropping their baby off. Because
Right.
I've noticed in the past few weeks they haven't been bringing their baby through. Like, how, mama, are you holding up okay? How are you doing? I know you
Right.
dropping your baby with people, even though it is in our church and you know these people, it's
Still.
still a little bothersome. Like,
Yeah.
that's relationship building. That is, or people asking, people noticing I'll wear a Southern Miss shirt and people commenting about the game or a
Yeah.
post that they've seen made or
Right.
something like
Yeah.
that's relationship building.
Yeah.
That's where the fear of what if they run away goes away.
Right. Right.
Because if they run away, unless you've done something absolutely incredibly crappy, which those instances happen,
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
I just don't think they're all of them.
Right. But of course, they
So
like to be made that it is the whole, like it
exactly,
is, and it
exactly.
isn't that way.
But if you're trying to make the relationship building about it come in like a come and go and understanding and everything, if they walk away, that's on them. That's not on you anymore. You shouldn't have a fear because you did
Yeah.
everything you could.
Right. No.
Just
No, and I love that you're saying that. And I won't go into details, but I had something like that happen really recently to me. And Delancey knows about it because I talked to her about it. Like somebody walk away and it's kind
I was
it
trying to ease it
yeah.
in there without saying it.
And it stings. And I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt because it does sting. And for this, but I like in what she was talking to, I'm thinking it's also a two-way street with a
Mm-hmm.
relationship. But you've also got to give your kids some grace because they're kids too. Like with this
They're
relationship that I had,
learning.
they're like grown ass adults, okay? But with kids, they're learning. So of course it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
probably be more one-sided as you're trying to invest in them,
Mm-hmm.
and like talk to them and be there for them. But I also was like, I don't know, I feel like me and Delancey, and I can't really speak for her, but it's like the same way to where like you see people. I mean, I know we talked about it on an episode and you compliment them and you talk to them and you want to serve them. I mean, when I think about that and her talking about that, like that all comes from God. That's like something that they
Mm-hmm.
ask us to do, to be Christ-like, to serve other people. And
Mm-hmm.
so, when it comes on, well, it's all about me, but then I don't know, like there's something I go back to, like I think of even this, like nobody owes me anything. Like even my husband doesn't owe me all the compliments or all the love that he gives me. Like, yes, he's serving me, but nobody owes me that. And so that's when I think of like, well, will adoptees run away? Like, well, like what do they owe? You know what I mean? Like, I, I just, I can't even with it. But
Wait.
relationships can be hard. I get that. But sometimes, and it's crazy because I was listening to an audiobook this morning, they said it stings the most when somebody just cuts you out of their life and there's no reasoning why. And that's kind of what I'm going through right now because I'm like, whoa, like what happened? But at the same time, there have been crazy blessings that have happened too that I'm like, okay, if I didn't, like,
Mm-hmm.
then I wouldn't be seeing this. And so, I mean, yeah, it stings. And yes, I get it's not like a child that out of my life, but it's still, it goes back to what Delancey said, it's a relationship and it can still hurt. And it doesn't matter what kind
Mm-hmm.
of relationship it is. But it's just, I you can do the best you can. And sometimes people are just gonna go. And like I was telling
Mm-hmm.
Delancey with this relationship, I honestly gave what I feel, she might feel different, 150% into that relationship. And it just like that's how I always felt. And I've noticed that as that's happened, like there's been a lot relieved off of me and a lot of like, oh, okay, yeah, I was putting a lot of energy into that and I was receiving
Mm-hmm.
nothing back. Granted, I get it's different when it's your kids. It's not what I'm saying, but sometimes even as kids, like when they're adults and they're your adult kids, it's still biological or not. Like it doesn't matter, or adopted or not. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're still gonna like do their own like when they're grown ass adults. Like it does. I don't know. And I like how Delancey, I'm going to go back to that. It's like, it's a you problem because like, if your kid does choose, there's actually an adoptee I do know that was reunited like with her birth mom and went and lived with her for a couple, like a little bit just to kind of fill it out and see. And it was really, yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, granted, she wanted to try, but it was her adopted, her parents were like, whoa. And I get that. I
Yeah.
wholeheartedly get that. But like, I don't know. Like she never gave him a reason to kind of doubt that she wasn't their child. And then she went and did this, which, for me, I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, that would be a real kick in the pants. It would. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
That
that's
would. But it's something, and and then granted, she was younger too. I'm not saying like she was like, barely 18. So like she could make the choice to do that. But so yeah.
wait. Back up. Questions.
Yeah.
Um, barely 18. Like, was it open or closed? I have questions, like all the questions.
It was, if I can, it's been a while. It's one of the interviews I did. It was kind of, I don't even remember if it was, I know she's got a relationship, but I don't think she has a relationship currently now with
Mhm.
the birth mom, if I'm remembering correctly. Cause like things, yeah. Yeah. So like
I
it was,
can
yeah.
relate.
Yeah.
Can relate.
So I think it was just, I get it. She was in that 18-year-old mind frame. And I don't know if it was open and if it was, but obviously she had enough knowledge of this. My guess is it wasn't as open as it could have been, because for her to want to go and, do this, but then again, it could have been open and she wanted to go and do this. But I feel like if it was open, the relationship wouldn't be where it's at today, but I could be very wrong. It doesn't matter if it's open or not. I mean, I shouldn't even say that, because relationships can fizzle out no matter how long you've known people. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was very
Yeah.
interesting to me. And I get where like her parents, but like the thing is like it wasn't a full on runaway. It was, hey, I want to go try this for a little bit. And that's it. But like she still had kids. But I get to where the parents would feel like, oh, yeah, okay. Well, you are kind of like running away. But like it was very interesting. Like I can't remember full details of it, but it was interesting. But
That's interesting. I mean, but like at the same time, though, I feel like that there are going to be some Christians out there. They're going to be like, nah. I feel like you genuinely get to know someone when you live with them.
oh, agreed.
Like
100%.
you learn more and more and more
Yeah.
about them. And I'm not saying I'm not condoning living with somebody before you're married, before like somebody in my church goes, what the crap? And I'm gonna be like, that's not what I said. Not what
It's
I'm
not.
saying.
It's
That
not.
is not what I'm saying, because is like whatever. Everyone has a right to choose whatever they want to choose. I'm not telling somebody to go live with someone before you get married. What I am saying
Yes.
is that I think that her doing that, whereas out of I don't from my perspective, I kind of out of left field as that is, that was brave to be like, yeah, let me go live with her, let me
Yeah.
get to know her. And B, that was like, truthfully, that's the fastest way
No.
for her to get to know her and to
Yeah.
observe her in her, like, makes me sound like a zookeeper, like an adventurer or something, in their natural habitat. I mean, it's true though. Like,
It's
if you
so
think
true.
about it, she's in
So
she's in her
true.
natural habitat. She's going to be relaxed, and she's going to get to see her for who she is.
It's so true. No,
Like,
I agree 100%. No, and I like that you brought that up, because like obviously, same thing with me, like don't live with who, like don't live like, well, I can't even
we're
think
not
of it. Be
condoning it.
married. Be married before
Yeah.
you get married. I understand that. But like for me, when I did get married, and like I have brothers, but they're so much older than me, and like
Hmm.
living with a boy all of a sudden, and it's an adjustment. Like our first year of marriage was like, whoa, because it's like, yeah, you date, but you don't live together. So I like that you pointed that out, because it's so true. Like you don't really get to know somebody until you actually live with them.
Well, and you get to know their little weirdo quirks, and all of you listening, you've got them. You have a
It's
little
well,
weirdo
everybody
quirk.
does. Everybody.
Everyone has little weirdo quirks, and we always try to keep them under wraps and hide them from
Yes.
people. And whereas I'm over here like, whatever is what it is.
It's so true.
But it's, especially, I almost feel, just because of, and I feel like I'm going to project a little bit here. I almost feel as if I had done something like that, I think I would have seen a few things a little bit sooner.
Oh yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Um, or I would have been a little more aware of
Right.
certain things and be able to navigate that a little easier. Now, of course, I would, ran to my mom and dad for help, because I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Right.
And
Right.
my family, my mom and dad and my sisters and everything, they did a really good job of helping me figure out how to navigate. Because if you don't know how to navigate something, you're just like, who do you go to? Your parents.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Um, so that's interesting. So she doesn't have a relationship at all.
I don't believe so. I'd have to go back and double check, but like I remember, or where it is, I don't know. I think she learned things, and it's either no relationship or definite hardcore boundaries. Like, but I remember it was one of the two after it happened. Like, oof, like it was, yeah,
Gosh,
because like you said,
she's young, isn't she? Is she still like she's still so
no, well, she's young. She's definitely younger than us. I want to say
that's
like by
that's what
like,
I mean. She's
yeah,
like,
yeah, like,
respectfully, she's a
yeah,
kid.
yeah, yeah. Like she's married now with kids and stuff, and she's actually adopted too. The cutest baby ever. So yeah, but that's a super open adoption, and that birth mom's around a lot, which is, like with her son, like they do a lot of things together. So I don't know, dynamics can be different. And I go back to is like with the will your adoptee run away? It's not a bad thing if kids want to wonder about their birth family. And I think maybe that comes a fear too. It's like, well, if I tell them these things, I don't want them to be sad because they necessarily didn't come from a great situation. Or, if I tell them these things, like I don't, they'll want to go and see them if I tell them these things about their birth family. And it's like, okay, well, if you're assuming that, you're already doing them a disservice because you're not going to go ahead and be honest. If it's like, well, I don't know if I should tell them because, well, like, why not? Like, be honest with them. Granted, there's an age limit and to sharing certain things. It's not going to be like they're 4 years old and you sit them and talk about
Right.
drugs and all these things if their family's been doing them. Yeah. Like,
yes.
There's a rhyme and reason. Your kid should always know they're adopted. And then as they get older and ask more questions, which hopefully you're leaving it open ended that way to where they can, then you can bring more things up when you realize it's age appropriate where they're at in their life. Like,
I'm so glad you said age appropriate, because I said that one time. Because there's a group of friends that I have, and one of the people in the group, he's adopted, and he's very like, not interested. Like his dad's the best. Like his dad's really great. I've never met his mom, but his dad's pretty awesome. Like, and we just look at things a little bit, like just a little bit differently, and that's completely fine. Like he's cool. Like he's great. And met his wife. His wife's amazing. And but the group that I'm with is that like they're very intrigued by my story, because they've never met an adoptee that like their parents were open with them, like to the level that my parents are. And it's kind of like not a good or a bad thing. It's just like they didn't know anybody that has my story, I guess, or something similar. Anyway, I was explaining to them about how, my parents were really great. I've always understood it. They always taught it to me in an age appropriate way. And they're like, what does that mean, age appropriate? And I'm sitting there going, I don't, what do you mean? And they're like, well, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? And I went,
do these
well,
people have kids?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
So no, that was that was my thought too. I was like, huh? But it was just kind of like, what do you mean age appropriate? And I was like, well, I mean, there's only so much a 4-year-old can comprehend.
Right.
Like there's certain ways of delivery that you give to a child. You don't, tell them everything at age of 4. Like you progress it, you educate them as they get older, because you there's a level of innocence with children that you want to maintain.
Right.
And they went, well, I just don't understand why they just didn't tell you from the beginning. And I was like, they did. They did tell me. And it was one of those things of like, it was, they weren't trying to be mean or disrespectful or like anything, but it was just, for me, it was very confusing. Like,
huh? What?
I don't,
exactly.
I don't get it. And they're like, well, we just don't understand. Like, and met them after like I had like met biologicals and everything. And like we had all sat down, and I explained to them, I've had my parents and my biological mom in the same, and I just there's very distinct differences with like just who they are as people, and it's not good or bad. They're just different, and that's fine. And they just couldn't. It was almost like they just couldn't understand, why would you put them in the same. It was almost like they just. It goes back to the whole entire thing of, it's okay to be curious, but sometimes things are just face value.
Right.
And it goes back to the whole entire, like, it was almost like they didn't understand. Like I said something about what did I say? It was something about, my mom and dad are awesome. Even though I'm not biologically linked to them, they're my mom and dad.
Yeah.
And one of the individuals who, we're not going to go there, but the response they gave me, they're like, those are your parents. And I went, that is legitimately what I just said. And he was like, no, you need to respect. And I looked at them and I was like,
What?
I legitimately just said that biology does not make family. And he was like,
Yeah.
be respect. And like, it was one of those things of like, and I looked at, and I just remember sitting there thinking to myself, he was like, you need to be more respectful. And it was like, he was trying to lecture me. And I stopped the entire conversation, not just me and him. Like it was a group, like a little group of us
Yeah.
sitting down. And
Yeah.
like, that's what pops in my head when people say, that's why the fear of running away. I don't know that that's coming exactly from adoptive parents. I now, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm relating it to this conversation. I think
Right.
it's coming from people who do not know, who are not in the community, who want to project and speak because I'm just sitting there going,
No.
no, like I stopped
Yeah.
everybody from talking. And like I went down the line and I asked everybody and I said, because there's a misunderstanding here, I want to make sure that what statement I made was perceived correctly. How did you interpret what I said? Like that's how petty I got
Dang,
to
that's
make him look
crazy.
ridiculous. Like that's petty, petty. And okay, those of you listening, I recognize that was petty. I'm okay with it because it was one of those, you're not going to talk to me like that and then
Right.
expect me to sit there and take it.
Right.
Jesus and I are great, but Jesus understands.
I just,
Like we ain't doing this. But it goes back to, if you're not in the community, do your research, talk to people, be curious, be
right.
respectful with what you're saying, be respectful
Right.
with how you receive the information, be respectful with your questions.
Yeah.
Stop telling people who are considering adoption or who are going through adoption process, what if they run away? What if they choose their biological family over you? What if they would rather be with them? What if
Why?
what if
Yeah.
your spouse decides they don't want to be with you anymore? What if your biological children decide they want to run away?
Yeah.
What if your dog decides it wants to run away? Like,
Yeah.
we can't live in the world of what ifs. Ooh, wow. I
Exactly.
just like,
No, I love
my
that.
brain just went, mm.
That was good. No, that was good.
I was about to say, I would apologize, but I'm not going to because
No,
I really feel like that
no,
needed to be said
it did.
because it's when an adoptee is clarifying. Let me say that too. When an adoptee is clarifying to you as to why they do not like what is being said, do not step to the adoptee and tell them they're wrong. Because especially when you're not the adopted one,
No,
because you don't know how we feel.
I love that. And I love that you brought that back up because that was one thing that stood out a lot when you're sharing that experience with him is it's like people think that they can force on you
Hmm.
and I can't do that. And it's not just the adoption community. I mean, hell, look at the world right now. People think they can force whatever the hell they want on you and if you don't then it's like
Mm-hmm.
it sounds just like with this. But that's what I'm saying like and I love that. And I love that you're like, no, 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 no. And it's so true. Like, I don't get why people think that they can just like force this on people. Well, you have to
Yeah.
do this. You have to feel this way. It's just like it's crazy. But I love how you brought that back. I think my favorite thing out of everything that you said was like the what ifs. Why
Oh,
are
what
we
if?
focusing on the what ifs? That's gonna be the quote for this one when I go back from Delancey. Because seriously, it was so good. Like, why are we focusing on the what ifs? Because oh my goodness, that would just be like so stressful.
Sorry, Pocket's trying
Don't
to join. Keep going.
don't be no, but it just would be stressful to like think about that because it's like when your kids, even having biological, like why would I want to think that their whole lives? You know how much that would stress me out? Well, what if this happened? What if that happened? What if they did this? What if that did like why? The only person that I'm like stressing myself is myself. And that's not worth it to be sitting there thinking about the what if. So I love how you brought that up. And I love how you brought up like that he just because some people, man, they just can't be. They
Some
just
people just like, and I love when they double down. They're like, "Oh no,
yes.
it's because of like my experience hasn't been like y'all. I like haven't experienced the same thing, so I guess I just didn't think it was that bad." Don't just
Now,
like
yeah,
it's a
I know.
it's not a big deal to do that, and it's not a big deal. I mean, it is a big deal to bring up the what if they run away, but when
Yeah, yeah,
somebody, it's what I appreciate about us and other adoptees that we've had on and like other like things people we've talked to and things like that, when we get those kinds of questions, we combat it with compassion
Yes.
and with logic.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, what, I mean, what if we stay?
Yeah.
Well, what if they run away? That's why
Yeah.
they're afraid, because they're afraid because they're going to meet their biological parents and they're going to hug them. Like,
No, I no, I totally agree. And I like that you said that people mean it with compassion, because I feel like we have had quite a few people on here who that's exactly how they understand that there's like, especially the adult ones of us, like
mm-hmm,
we understand that like it's either ignorance or they're trying to come across, but it comes across ignorant, even though you can tell they're trying not to sound that way.
mm-hmm,
And you just, that's the best way you can answer it. I love that, is like with
mm-hmm.
compassion, because it 100% is, because it's like, hey, but then if they're acting like idiots, then you're like, hey, you got to stop. Like, no, like, listen, you're not listening. You're just listening to what you want to hear. And that's not what I'm saying. And that drives
It's
me
like
crazy too.
you're listening to what you want to hear, and you're just to justify doubling down on your
Yes.
ignorant statement. And then
Yes.
that's when I feel sorry for people like that, because that come across me, because then I'm like, no, 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 time out. We're going to stop talking. All of us are going to stop talking, and
Yeah.
I'm going to repeat exactly what I just said verbatim, and I want all of you to tell me how you perceive that.
Yeah.
And then they all said the same thing, that your parents are your parents.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
your biological parents aren't your parents.
Mm-hmm.
They created you, but your parents are your parents. Like, all of them said that. And I remember
Yeah.
just looking at me and like,
Yeah.
and his response was, well, I must have misunderstood. And I said, no, you chose to misunderstand. You didn't.
Right. Right.
Like, there's only, and that's the other thing. Those of you who want to make these kinds of statements out there, I know I'm preaching to the choir, because those that listen to us aren't the ones that are making the statement.
Right.
Preaching to the choir here. But it's almost like will be compassionate towards someone, and compassionate and compassionate and compassionate. They will do their best, but you can't get mad at someone when they have their final straw reaction.
Yeah. It's
If you
true.
keep pushing them,
It's
you can't
true.
act shocked then and be like,
Yeah.
I can't believe you just did that. Why would you do, why? Like,
But then, like, when you're that person that they're doing that to, you can be like, you really want to backtrack? You want to backtrack and see where this conversation, just like where we started to where we are now. Like, you see
mm-hmm,
why I'm reacting the way I'm reacting? Because it's like, I feel like it's like when I ask my kids, hey, pick that up. And then the 50th time I'm screaming like a crazy person. It's the same thing, because granted, kids are totally
mm-hmm,
different. They're not listening. But it goes back to the same thing for grown ass adults that don't listen. Like, that don't listen to what you're trying to say, and they just
mm-hmm.
want to talk over you. And it's like, really? Like, really? Like, no, that's when it gets annoying. Ugh, yeah, no.
And like you pointed out what we talk about so often. When they're not listening to you, they're listening to respond. They're listening for their turn to talk. They're not listening to
Exactly.
understand what you're saying to them.
Right.
And
Right.
there's only, I mean, it's always just interesting to me. People like, people are just very interesting characters. And the art of, like I said, I don't want to say the art, the importance of relationship building, to circle back, has gone out the window. Everybody just wants to be popular. Everybody wants to be an influencer. Everybody wants to be followed. Everyone wants clicks. Everyone wants likes. Everyone wants to be like able to wave at like 5 million people in a restaurant, or, throw out the word friend. But those people are surface level. So when
Mhm.
they ask the questions that have deeper answers to them, what if
Mhm.
they run away? What if they stay?
Yeah.
They're not there to hear that.
Yeah. No, it's so true. It's so true.
Like,
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I like, because if we take it on the flip, I love how you are saying, what if they stay? Because it can be in the flip. Well, what if you stayed with your biological family? Would it be what everything is going to be now? Does that make sense? Like,
mm-hmm,
there's that
mm-hmm.
too, of it's like, well, they wouldn't have run away, or they're not going to run away if they stay with their biological family. It's like, well, the situations might not be so great for them to stay, or it's true. How many times, and this episode's going to be way after Mackenzie and Ryan's, but like, how many times have not only we said, but even Mackenzie said, God had a hand in it? And it
Mhm.
drives me crazy when people don't think God had a hand in it. Like, you go find yourself some Jesus if you can't believe that, because I just don't even, I don't know. Like, it's crazy.
Mhm.
Like, I was actually talking to my niece the other day and my nephew, who is a very like anti God, anti everything. He's kind of had a little bit of a twist. And she's like, I can't believe how much he talks about God now. He had something happen in his life to where it's just like he opened his heart, changed everything, and it's just crazy. So, I mean, it's possible. My nephew was
Mhm.
very, very, very dead set on like, there's not a God because of things that have happened to him. And then he had things in turn happen to him because he was willing to open his heart through a lot of hard struggles that I won't go into that he's gone through, to now he's like a believer in God. And it's like, it may take a bumpy road to get where you're going to get,
Mhm.
but I promise you, you can get there. And I promise you, when God is on that, like, I always broke my heart that he never believed. And I'm just like, and now that he does, it's crazy. It's crazy what it does to a person. It's crazy.
See, I love that. I don't love that he went through hard times,
Right. No,
but
correct.
it's one of those things of what a great story he's going to have
No, it's
to
true.
share to help others
Right. Yeah.
because of and it's so interesting because people talk about like when we go through trials we should be rejoicing and praising God because we're going through trials and hard times. Nobody's thinking about that in the minute, like in the moment of going through the hard times. We're all thinking like,
So
why
true.
me?
Yes.
Why
Yes.
this is awful.
Yes.
But it's if you have somebody like him
Yeah.
who has gone through that you can go to, like, this is what I mean. Even if
Yeah.
it's just like a friend that goes and confides in him, he's going to be able to go, you know what,
Yeah.
I hear you, this is going to lead you to something so beautiful and so great. Yes, it sucks right now,
Right.
but I love that he is going to be able to take his now relationship with God and everything that he's been through and turn
Yeah.
it. Like he's going to do so many good things. And
Yeah.
I know people are probably listening going, God, needs he shut up? And it's like, but it's true though. Like
Oh,
it's, well, no, trust me, there's going to be somebody out there that's going to be like, oh my God, like, could you be more of an after school special? Probably I could,
school
but,
special.
it's true though,
Yeah.
because those of us, you and me included,
Yeah.
that have gone through the more unique opportunities, interesting opportunities, learning opportunities. We'll go with that. Learning opportunities. It's that have helped mold our stories.
Yeah.
There's just
No.
everyone's trials are different.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that
Yeah.
I'm excited for him.
I am too. And mind you, he's 23.
Excited.
It's not like some baby. He's 23. Like, I mean, he still is a baby, but like he's 23. So it's not for people thinking like, oh, he's this 16-year-old and now he's 18. No, like this is all kind of transpired when those years were younger. It was harder for him. And now that he's like twin. I mean, but yeah. So I mean, I think it's
Mm-mm.
pretty awesome. When she told me that, I was like, oh my gosh, how cool is that? She's like, yeah,
I
it's
love
weird.
that for him.
Weird because he's done like a
It's
complete 180, and it's like it's just recent too is the crazy thing. It's just been really recent that it's happened, so I'm just like, that's so cool. So I think it's awesome. I think it's way cool to
love that.
finally come to that. But yeah, anyway, no, I love that
That's so awesome. I'm really happy for him. And the fact that like
too.
23, like
Young to, yeah.
that's young, and that's a very interesting time in life too.
Agreed.
Like
Agreed.
that 21 to 25 is a very interesting time in life.
Mm-hmm.
You're figuring your life out, you're figuring
Yeah.
yourself out.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's so awesome for him.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty down proud of him. I think it's pretty cool. When she told me yesterday, I was like, yeah, because he's like, he doesn't live close to us anymore. Like he moved away and has kind of like been doing his own thing. And so, like, I mean, not tons of communication, which I get because he's in that phase. And so, but like when we heard about that, I
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome. So I just think,
So I'm gonna ask a question.
yeah,
And you can be like, I want to talk about this off air if you want to. That's fine. Is he is he LDS or is
former,
he
former. So
former?
kind of grew up in it. Um, parents relationship really hard,
Got it.
really, really, really hard.
Got it.
And so obviously ended up in divorce. So really, really hard. Things really, really hard with things.
Got it.
So yeah. Yeah. But
So is he going to a church, or is he, I'm just
I
curious, like
don't
how that
know.
is.
That's a good question. I don't know. My bet is yes, because he did. I don't want to say he got into a program. If you catch my drift after
Gotcha.
stuff he was
Got
going
it.
through.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it.
And so my guess is
I
yes.
you could, I bet that
Yeah.
you could have just been like that. I've been like, got
Yeah.
it, Roger. Roger that.
So, but I think, yeah, because I know with that healing process with quite a few people that like,
Yep.
not quite a few, but people that I personally know besides him that have got like, that's where it's kind of like a huge awakening
Oh
to
no,
God
100%.
comes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So,
100%. Most of
yeah.
those things are
Right.
founded
Yeah.
with a relationship with
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Like
Once,
most
yeah.
of them. So yeah.
Once people are ready to do the healing. So, and that's where he's
It-
at, which I think is so cool. And that's the other thing. People have to be ready to do the healing, because I know plenty of people still going through this that are like twice his age, older than
Mhm.
that, and it's a choice. And so that's where I'm even more
Mhm.
proud of him at 23 to be like, hey, I'm gonna make this choice to, like
That's
huge,
awesome.
huge for him to have that realization like on his own. Like it's pretty
Yeah.
dope. I'm pretty proud of him. So
Well, and what's interesting that you just pointed out just then, and it's that, people who are twice his age that are still going through something like that. If you think about that, that cycles back to you never, when you take on the responsibility of the child, you never stop being their parent, even after
right.
they turn 18.
Yeah. No, it's so
So
true.
it's one of those things of, and that's something that like I look at my mom and I think about it, and she has made the comment before, like, just, and I'll just say about me, I won't talk about my sisters because like they're all married with kids. They got it together. Um, but like for me, my mom even told me, like when I was going through my stuff in Alabama, even though she did not know the extent of everything, and
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to tell her because it's
Right.
not something she needs to know. She doesn't need to
Right.
know all that.
Right.
But she even said, even though she's like, I never stopped loving you. I never stopped being your mom. Anytime you ever called me, you needed me, or if I had a feeling that something wasn't right,
Right.
she was like, I don't care. She was like, I don't care how old you are. You're my, she's like, you're my little girl. Like
It's so
that's,
true. Yeah.
and that's
No.
something when you think about the, what if they run away? Well, that doesn't make you any less of their parent.
Yes.
If that what
Yes.
if happens, that doesn't
Right.
make you any less of their parent. That doesn't make you any less of somebody who tried, as long as, clarification, you are doing genuine intent to build the relationship and guide them in the way that you're supposed to. As long
Exactly.
as you're not, and I'm not making that a blanket statement of to cover the,
Right.
where somebody's going to come back and go, well, what if they were abusive? Well, somebody should have stepped in if there were indicators that that was happening. Somebody should have stepped in. Somebody should have called. I will never not say that. However, for those people who are projecting the fear of, well, what if they like them better? What if they choose them? What if they yada yada yada? Well, what if they choose the in-laws
Yeah.
when they get married?
Amen. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, that's a good one, Delancey. That is good. No,
Well,
I love
it
that.
just goes back to the whole
It's
entire thing
true.
of, we are always growing and learning and developing as people.
Yes.
Part of being the parent-child relationship, even as you get older,
Mm-hmm.
you should still be able to go to your parents for
Right.
advice, for
Right.
guidance.
Yeah.
Your parents may not have all the answers, and I'm not saying parents have all the answers. Like sometimes my mom goes, I'm not really sure, maybe go ask your dad, or my dad will be like, you know what, I'm really not sure, maybe you should ask your sister because your sister is more aware of what that
Right.
is, or your
Right. Yeah.
brother-in-law, or your pastor, or they will point, even if they don't have the answer, they'll point you in the right direction.
Exactly.
So
Communicate.
there
Yeah.
is no age limit as to this whole entire stupid question of what if they run away.
Yeah.
Don't live in the what if.
I love that.
And don't think because you're 40 something years old that you've got it together,
Right.
just because you're 40 something years old.
Exactly.
Because clearly this 23-year-old has it together more than some
People that I
people
know.
that we know. And that's okay. Everyone's
Yeah.
journey is their journey.
Right.
But don't bring up what if questions.
Yeah.
Just because I almost feel like those people have broken lives. I don't.
No, it's true. It's true. You nailed it on the head. It's true. It's so true. No, I'm gonna leave it on that. Dude, that was
Yeah, leave it on
money.
that. Like I
I
hate
love
like
how you no, I love how you did that. No, but really though, I love how you like brought it all back. Like seriously, so good.
it's this
No.
coffee. It's a
No,
new
I
kind of coffee I started drinking.
well, then you better start drinking it every time we podcast. I mean, maybe that might be hard when we do it at night because I don't want you
Yeah,
up till
no, I
3 in the
can't. This
morning.
is
Like, whoo.
absolutely not. I will not be drinking this coffee at night. This is extra caffeinated coffee.
At 3 in the morning, that would not be good.
Three
I'd
in the
get a
morning, yeah.
text.
And I
I'm
would
not
be, yeah,
drinking coffee.
sending you text messages and being like, I had this really great idea, and like they'll sound so manic crazy. You'll be like, what is wrong with her? Why is she talking 90 to nothing?
No, I love it. I love it. Well, I'm gonna leave it off that. Seriously,
Yes.
so good. But now we have to think of other topics as I'm thinking of that. But we'll get this. We got this. I know it's fine. We'll get it. Anyway. Okay. As always, guys, thanks for listening and joining this wild ride that is us. I do have to say this really quick because I'm super stoked because I was working on stuff before we did this, but we're like getting that much closer to have 100 episodes, dude. Like 100. I know. Like we've still got a chunk to go, but like we're getting
But
there, which is
it's
awesome.
a little bit less than it
I
was.
know. So it's so cool. Anyway. Okay. Thanks, guys, for listening, and we will catch you next time.